announcement. The other 17 local government areas brought in their result well in good time. So, but as you know, larger is a riverine area, difficult terrain. So I think they reasonably improved in this particular election. But then the issue, if you remember the last time we were here, is why can't we have what we had in 1993, where once elections are concluded from every polling unit, they are automatically transmitted to Abuja, where they are tabulated and the result announced, instead of these whole, if you like, manual processes of waiting for every local government to make returns, which gives room for, one is not saying that there were compromises here, but it does give room for all kinds of things to happen. So in terms of improving the electoral process, I think the National Assembly owes it as a duty to this country to complete this whole process of having a complete electronic system, because what we have now stops at accreditation and voting, but transmission of results have not been alluded to, because they claim that it's not in the Electoral Act and it needs to be put in the Electoral Act for it to be used. Yeah.
Let's look at some of the complaints that trailed the elections. First of all, from the candidates themselves. On that day, on D-Day, election day, we heard the APC candidate complain of soldiers colluding in some parts of the state. We also heard the PDP candidate complain that, you know, the card readers weren't working as they should. I think the same complaint was from the AD candidate, but his comments seemed a bit more temperate if you look at the complaints of all three major candidates. Now, how much of an influence do you think that these complaints have on the conduct of the elections themselves on that day?
Well, according to the reports of election observers, they gave the elections a pass mark. Yes, the role of security agencies in our electoral process has been a recurrent issue. What number is adequate? What number is excessive? Where are they supposed to be restricted to? Are they allowed to come into polling centers, or are they expected to man the high roads? I think we've gotten better that within the, I believe, the 300 meters of the polling centers, they're not supposed to be there. But on the highways, they can man it. And then a reasonable argument can be made for the presence of security agencies. If you look at the history of the elections, especially in Ondo states inclusive.
But which of the security agencies now?
Well, the military has a role on the intersection, because when you are dealing with border states, you know, there are fears that people can move from neighboring states. The police is active. But again, something we have to realize is a feature of election in developing countries. Okay, in the more advanced countries, you don't have security agencies present.
We'll pick up on that when we return in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back to Sunrise. If you have a question.
Quickly before we go, I'm trying to look at the issue of strengthening our democracy, because it would seem as if almost every election has its own squabbles within parties. It's either someone is quickly trying to fix what mess is on the ground. For instance, quickly saying to civil servants, I'm going to pay you money's owed you for about 6-7 months. Or you're getting to see what has happened in the APC leading up to that election, and very quickly that commendation or congratulatory message from Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which so many others have thought that he wasn't in tune with the candidate, knowing full well he was also not there with the president during the last-minute campaign. And also looking at PDP and what finally happened between the McCarthy faction and the Modu Sharif faction. Politicians, they are really, really important in our democracy. How has that played out with all what we've seen leading up to the Ondo governorship election? Have they fared well?
Well, if we begin with the congratulations by Chief Tinubu, which I thought was a very gracious act, given the what transpired in the build-up to the election. And that's the way democracy is supposed to be practiced once a winner emerges. Those who felt differently quickly rally around, because it's all about service to the people. But the strengthening our democracy, a lot of people, heap it on what INEC does or, doesn't do on election day. But it actually has a lot to do beyond INEC. Why do we have the kind of cut-throat election that we have in it? It's because there is a lot to gain, in quote, once people are elected. The patronage system is huge. The regulatory system, accountable systems are very weak to hold those who are elected in check. Service is very weak. Because one thing we have not picked up in this election is the low level of voter turnout. Why is that the case? Is that people have come to realize that for the past 16 to 17 years we've been having this cycle of election. In terms of service, not much is happening. Afrobarometer did a survey in December 2014 on satisfaction with democracy in this country. And the return on Nigeria was 28%, because people believe that regardless of who you vote for, once they get elected, it's a different thing. And we are seeing a dangerous dimension now where people go to election promising all kinds of things, but as soon as they get elected, they renounce all their promises. Either blame it on political parties. Look at the one that happened in Ondo State. This was somebody who campaigned as an investment banker and all that. And what is he doing now? He has set up a committee to review the promises he made, because he feels that the economic situation may not, enable implementation. This recession, we've had it since first quarter of this year. This is the fourth quarter. So you can't say it's something that happened yesterday. And he's taking a cue from what happened at the federal level. So when people realize that you can get elected and do whatever you like, they invest all they have to win election, and that again, reduces the quality of our democracy.
One more thing briefly, it's the perception, the perspective people have of INEC. Now we've seen the SDP, because you have the key ruling party, they always disagree with INEC, but now we have the PDP, the SDP, even the AD at some point complained of INEC. Are they improving or what?
I would say, because again, INEC is a partner that we have worked with. I don't think that INEC has, on its own, by its own making, deteriorated from what we saw in the past. But what I would say is that they have faced more challenges. When I was here last year, I did say that within 1 year of coming into office, this INEC had conducted about 137 elections. And this is a period where, in terms of budgetary allocations to them, not much has happened. They have not had the full complement of 16 commissioners that they are supposed to have. And the one thing they need to do, which Jega did, was that they need to communicate more with the public about the challenges they are facing.
Let's anchor at that point. Mr. Innocent Chukwuma is the Regional Director of the Ford Foundation, also does a lot with election security. We appreciate your comment on this morning. And that's what we'll draw the curtains today on the program. We thank you all for watching. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Well, thank you. I'm Maupe Ogun.